Hello and welcome to my latest cleaning video. So this time we're going to be having a look through my collection, or part of my collection, of vintage Western paperbacks. Now, I've not got hundreds and hundreds of these, but what I've got today is a couple of great series that I've been collecting, the Edge series and the Renegade series, as well as a few other sort of one-shots and miscellaneous titles that all need a bit of a clean. Some of them are in excellent condition, other ones are looking a bit worse for wear and I need the treatment. So anyway, that's what we're going to be having a look at today. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. So we're starting off with the Edge series by George G. Gilman, whose actual name was Terry Harknett. And these were published in the UK initially. New English Library were the publishers, and this series ran for 61 volumes, of which I've got them all bar number 60. Initially, when I set out to get these, I thought I'd love to get nice copies that were in first printings, but now that is a bit of a tall order and you could be going an awful long time before you manage to track them down. So I've settled on what I've tried to settle on is just nice editions with the original sort of covers on. So this is an early one. It's got a 30p cover price, but I don't believe it's the first. Yeah, this was the fourth printing, in fact. So this was first published in February 72, and this edition is from August 73. But as you can see, it's a really nice copy. That a little bit of fading on the spine there. The author's name has faded out, but apart from that, it's not too bad at all. This first book in the series is an absolute classic. I really do recommend it. It sets up the entire series, which is basically it's like a huge revenge story where Edge himself comes back from the American Civil War, finds his brother has been murdered and all his money has been stolen, and he sets out on revenge basically and sets him on that course. This particular copy then, it's absolutely fine. So all of these are going to need the top edges brushed off, and I'm also going to run the polish over the surface of them, but that one's not too bad, which is good news. Number two, some of them are quite bold, so this is a much later printing. It's got 75p instead of 30p on the back, a little bookmark in there. Now, I've not read all of these, but I've probably read now maybe the first 24, first 24, something like that. Because they're not writing anymore, and no one's taken over the mantle of writing the character, I'm trying to eke these out, although as you can see they're so thin you could read one in like a couple of hours, because they are quite quick reads. This is a really tatty one, so this one is going to go, and it's just a reprint for number 3, so that one's very much going to go on my upgrade list. So what I do when I edit my videos, I have a little Google Doc sheet open, and any books that are really hammered, I just make a little note of it as ones that if I come across them, because I knew, I now know that I've got all the edges bar 1, that particular one is one that I'm looking to upgrade. And these early ones, big print runs, as I said, they were reprinted time and time again, so they're not exactly difficult to get hold of, but it's always nice to know what you do or do not need. It's got a little bit of stickiness on the back, so that will benefit from a polish. It's got a little advert inside. See, compared, they just vary so greatly in condition, don't they, and quality. But so far, another really neat. See, this is another one. It's really hammered, but there's nothing I can do about that. That would have had a great big sticker on. And one thing I have found with Western books, they're a bit like crime books historically, in so fact as they seem to change hands quite a bit on the second-hand, bookshop circuit. But also they get read and reread. And I suppose these Edge books, because it is like one massive story, an expanse of a story in a specific world, that they do lend themselves to be read and reread a few times. In fact, the first one I've probably read myself 3 times now, because it is that good. One thing I would suggest with these Edge books is don't buy them on Kindle. As much as I want to support the author, or in this case his estate. The Kindle versions are full of spelling errors. They're really poorly put together, and they've got jackets which aren't these lovely original ones, and I just don't like them at all. So I wouldn't recommend reading them on Kindle. I would suggest just jumping on eBay, picking them up secondhand in job lots, of which that's the easiest way by far to read these books nowadays. So that's the first edition. That's the first edition we got there of number 9. As I said, not that I'm worried about that. I just want these to read more than anything else. But they are in a little bit of a state, but I don't mind. This one's got a big sticker on the back there, paperback exchange. But with this particular series, the tail end ones are the ones which are really expensive, and I think it's because the print runs must have dropped considerably, which I think is why they knocked them on the head. And so there's just less copies around, whereas the original ones were reprinted and reprinted multiple times, and there's lots more copies available to get your hands on. But the later ones, it was always number 61, which was the most expensive one. And I've seen that one actually sell. The most I saw a copy sell for was £99, and that was on a buy it now, and someone actually paid that. I got mine, I think I paid, it was on a buy it now, and I got it for £12.50, which I was absolutely over the moon with, and it's actually a really nice copy when we get to it. The one I'm missing is number 60, so not 61 but number 60, and occasionally copies turn up on eBay, but if I'm going to buy one of the tail end ones, I don't want to get a low grade one and have to upgrade it down the line, so I'm holding out for a nice condition copy, and then I'll snag it. But I don't really want to be paying much more than about 20 for that one. Some of the other ones I held out in the late 50s and got them all dirt cheap in the end for about £5 a copy, and they're really nice ones as well. So I think sometimes with these books, patience can be a bit of a virtue. So they've all been gone through, but I'm going to sort of put them into 2 piles now. There we are. And I'm going to give them a brush. Now I use this soft chew brush here, and I'll give all the extremities a brush down. And then at the end, I'm going to go through and give them all a final polish. But I think these are going to be a bit of a mishmash of conditions, to be honest, today. But that's okay. Don't mind that. There we are. So that's that first little pile. Let's crack on here. So this is number 15, and I must check with a friend of mine, Tim, who runs the Pan Books Collectors website. I believe as part of Tim's artwork collection, he's got one of the original jackets of these, one of the original paintings, which is super cool, isn't it? When I do a proper video on my other channel looking at the history of this series, hopefully Tim will be able to send me some pictures of that original jacket, because that would be really nice to see. These were released in America. They're, once again, different jackets completely. I don't know who the publisher is, because I haven't got any of the American ones in my own collection here. That one's been burned there. You can see it's gone through the pages. But in America, I believe it was only the first 45, I think, that ever got published, rather than the run of 61 over here. Plus there were a few spin-offs. So Gilman himself did another character called Adam Steele, and there is a crossover series as well, a few 6 issues of that. But I've not got into those just yet. I've got to finish reading these first. So I first found out about, well, I remember the Edge series when I was growing up and seeing them in the bookshops, but they just didn't appeal to me back then. But when I was listening to a Western podcast called the Six Gun Justice podcast with Richard Prosh and Paul Bishop, two really knowledgeable guys on the genre, they mentioned the series, and Gilman, or Terry Harknett, was part of the Piccadilly Cowboys. Basically, they're all based in London. They were writing westerns, and they'd never even been to the States, so they were doing it all from what they'd seen in like spaghetti westerns and stuff at that time, an old western TV series. So they were just sort of writing in the genre, but they did a really, really great job, I have to say. Also, there was a fantastic little fanzine called Hot Lead, which is a Western-based fanzine. It's published by Justin Marriott. He does multiple paperback fanzines on different bits, and Hot Lead was his Western-specific one, and he did a Hot Lead special, which has got a couple of hundred Western reviews in it. It's very, very good indeed. So that's the first, but once again, it's very, very hammered. If you get lucky, you can and you keep an eye out, you can pick up these sets very, very reasonably. I have seen them, in fact, whole sets of 61 come up for like, maybe 100, 150 pounds, something like that. And that would be a way to get them all in one foul swoop, rather than like I did, where I bought them. I tried to buy little job lots, and I was fairly successful with that. Look at that, the George Gilman Appreciation Society. I did have some success with picking them up this way, but if you can find them in a set, you're going to save yourself an awful lot of headache, to be honest. I don't know anyone who's got these in first editions. I know there's lots of really great Western collectors out there who've specialised in the genre, but that is not me. I dip my toe in a little bit of it, and I like a little bit of it, but that's sort of as far as it goes. There's so much other great stuff to read. I have read some Louis L'Amour, and he's alright. And there is one other series that I really like, which is coming up in a while, the Renegade series. Couple more, and then we'll give these a brush down. So these ones are pretty nice condition. Cool. Just give them a brush. See, some of these are really quite rough, aren't they? But predominantly, I want these to read. They are great, like little series to collect, but they are for reading, and they are just the sort of thing. If you want a bit of a pulpy read on a journey or something, whack a couple of these in your travel bag, because they're pretty good fun. They really are. Great escapism, I think, is the way to describe these books. So, interestingly, there's not been a massive amount of dust coming off them, but some dust you can see there. Little bits of dust. 29, so we're almost halfway through this series at least. Yeah, I have a funny feeling that's the cover that my friend Tim has got. It's the cover to number 30, I think. Quite a few of these have got pencil marks in where they've gone through a second-hand bookshop. I mean, really is quite rough, that one. It's not a mega collectible or anything like that. But these have never been cleaned. They've just sort of, as they've come my way, I've sort of had a brief look. If it's been a double, I've kept the best looking one, and then the rest I've just traded on, or in some cases given away to people. As you can see, they really are very, very thin books. I'm not sure at what rate they came out. It wasn't as much as like one a month, but it was perhaps at least 2 or 3 a year at the very minimum. Maybe even more than that. But certainly when I was growing up, I used to go into a bookshop in Plymouth called Bonus Books, and they were fantastic, and I really loved going in there. And I would pick up my regular Doctor Who book each month. That's really tatty, isn't it? I'd pick up my Doctor Who book each month because they were monthly, and Bonus Books was the place where they would always have them first of all. Look at that, an Edge and Steel t-shirt. How cool is that? God, I wonder what that might go for these days. I just don't know why she's had a bucket of water chucked all over her. I mean, really. Yeah, that was his other series, The Undertaker, long before The Wrestler. When was this one published? 81. That's the first, that one. So yeah, I remember going into Bonus Books, and I would pick up my Doctor Who book each month, and these were coming out, and they had them big walls of books, and they had them each series laid out with all the different ones. And I remember seeing these Edge books and thinking, cool, they look pretty cool, but they always also appeared a bit adult for me, and I could only afford like one book. I could afford my Doctor Who book if I saved up my pocket money, but I couldn't afford to stray. And these at the time just didn't really interest me. They were like quite cool covers and that, but I didn't really know a lot about them. The other series I remember seeing in Bonus Books was the Gore books by John Norman, which I have read the first few of those, and actually they're not bad sci-fi yarns, particularly the early ones. After that, sadly, it does go a little bit off the tracks, and they become a little bit sort of male domination fantasy books, if you know what I mean. And I've not continued because they got a bit silly, but the actual jackets and that, fantastic. And the later ones are published by Door Books, which is a publisher I collect, so I had them in my Door collection as well. '42. Okay, let's give these guys a bit of a brush down. So this one on top is particularly bad, and I see over there it says non-returnable. Is like, and let's be honest, the state of it, you wouldn't want it back, would you? It's that hammered. But as I said, I don't mind, because I do read these through. But if I get a better copy of that one, I'll read the tatty one, and I'll ditch it afterwards. Right, I think I'm just going to pause there. I'm going to pull the camera out a little bit and give us a bit more room. 43 then. So it was probably about 3 to 4 years ago that Amazon, when they started making TV series, original TV series, they actually got a pilot made of the first couple of books joined together. There's a little changing cover now from number 45. I don't like these so much as the earlier ones. But yeah, they did an Amazon pilot, and it was really good. It was really sort of ultra-violent. They never broadcast it to the best of my knowledge. I had to go online, and someone had posted a copy there. Goodness knows how it got up onto this website, but I have seen it, and it was excellent. And I really don't know why it never got the go-ahead to be made into a fully fledged series, because there was loads of source material, certainly enough to go for a couple of years easily. So that was a real shame. It was an opportunity missed, and they're never going to do that again. It looked like they spent a lot of money on it. It looked a bit like Deadwood. If you ever saw Deadwood with Ian McShane, that was a great series. But yeah, sadly it never got picked up, which was a real shame, because I loved it. There we are, here's number 50. This was much thicker than usual. It was almost like a double volume to celebrate the 50th one in the series. And there's not many books that go as far as 50, so it was a bit of a mini celebration. A couple of 100 pages for that one. If you do go online and you look up the Edge books, or look up just Gilman and Edge, you'll find a pile of them. You can do quite well by buying them in job lots. That's definitely the easiest way to do it, and you'll get the early volumes multiple times over. But the later ones, from about 50 upwards, you're going to probably end up picking them off one by one, because they're all quite expensive. All of these are at least a tenner a book now, and as I said, the last 3 or 4, 20, 25 pound, and the very last one I've seen as high as 100, but they do turn up cheap if you keep your eyes peeled. As I said, my tail end ones are actually really nice, because I've waited a long time to get them. I don't particularly ever want to get these again, so the copies that I've got are going to be my final copies. I'm not going to be looking for replacements, so these are all pretty nice. And when I do get this far to read them, because Gilman, or Terry Hartnett, because he's not writing anymore, there's a few series that I absolutely love, but because there's no new content coming out, I limit myself to maybe 1 or 2 a year. And then there's a few series like that. The Patrick O'Brien's is another series, which I just do 1 a year, and I think there's 20 or 19 or 20 of those, and I'm almost done now. So The Edge is one of those series. Now these ones here, I got these all together. Now these are really expensive books, £20-25 a piece, these last few. But if you notice, these copies have been laminated, and they've kept them really great condition. And I got them dirt cheap. I mean, like £5 each or something. And these were totally acceptable copies for me, So this, they've been laminated, and they've got that slightly weird texture on the front, but even so, it's kept the books really nice condition, and I'll be more than happy with those. Number 59. So I got those 3 all together. As I said, number 60 I've not got, so I'm still on the lookout for a copy of number 60, which I'll happily pay about 20 for if it's in really nice condition. And here is the very last one, which once again, I must have got this at the same time, because this is also laminated. I think it must have come in at about £5. This is the very last one that they released in the series. Just looking for the publishing date here. 1989. So 72 to 89. That was the run of the series. 17 years. So I guess he had a pretty good run off that, didn't he? And as I said, this particular one, I've seen as high as 100. This one being laminated, but still nice. I would still expect that to get £35-40 if it was put on the second-hand market. Not that I'm going to sell it, so don't ask. Right, let's get these into 3 little piles. There we are. I'm going to give them give them the old brush down. Well, none of these had like damaged spines or anything. From that point of view, at least they were all right. But I think some of them are definitely going to benefit from a bit of a polish. But some, I think, are, well, there's not really a lot of point doing a lot to them because eventually they're just going to be replaced anyway. Yeah, not a massive amount of dust coming off these. They weren't, I don't think, too bad to begin with. Make a third stack there. There we are. Brilliant. So that's all the Edge books, which is cool. Now, before we start on the Renegades, I've got a couple of other books to do, and also it's a perfect opportunity just to thank my patron and channel member supporters. Thanks, guys. So here's a Louis L'Amour, Lando. This is part of the Sackett's series, and with Louis L'Amour, they're very, very easy to get hold of to read. So you can pick these up very, very cheaply indeed. This is an old Corgi paperback, but I'm trying to get the Louis L'Amours in paperback first in the UK, and that's quite a tricky old job. These are just a couple of odd ones that I've got. I've got some more in my vintage Corgi collection. This is quite an interesting one. This is a British gold medal because it's got 2 shillings in the corner there. And this was Heller with a Gun, which was filmed, and it was the sensational Western on which this is based. The great Paramount film, Heller in Pink Tights. Dear, oh dear. Sophia Loren. There you go. Wowee. Quite a rare little book, this one, I believe, you know. Perhaps not worth a fortune, but it's quite scarce. And this is, that's all right, that very, very dirty top. I think that's going to benefit from a good brush. This one's not in great condition, but, I mean, it costs like £1 or something like that. So I think we'll just do those two right now. Because the next book we've got is a bit of a giant. I'm hoping that we'll be able to take a little bit off there because it was so dark. Yeah, it's coming up a little bit. Let's obviously never have the tops brushed off. There we are. Yeah, that's looking a little bit cleaner. I've got my toothbrush actually, so let's just give it a more targeted brush. I did recently get a Winston Churchill book for my collection from 1908. It was one I'd been after for about 4 years at a decent price, and it was a 2-hour cleaning job, and I so regret not filming it because from what it came in at to what it was looking like after I'd filmed it, it was honestly, it was fantastic. What a revelation. So there we are, lesson learned. This one then, look at the size of it, Lonesome Dove. Now you've probably heard of this because it had a 4-part mini-series. It was a massive thing in the 80s and had a fantastic cast and the adaptation of it. But this was the original book, and this is the first printing in paperback by Pan Books, so in the UK. And look at the condition of it. It's an absolute beautiful unread copy. There we are. It's got the full line number, first published in Pound Books in 1986. Absolutely minter, that one. It's just a cracking book. As I said, the mini-series that was adapted from it is also fantastic. It's got who's it got there? Robert Duvall. It's one of the main stars. It's got a very young Steve Buscema. Who's that other great actor I was thinking of? Can't remember at the moment. But lots of well-known faces in like supporting roles and that. Oh, Tommy Lee Jones, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah, really, really great. Lovely copy of that. I don't think there's anything else to do with that one at all. That leaves us just the last series, which is these Renegade books. So they're classed as an adult Western. Now that is mainly because in each of these books, sort of formulaic in actual fact, there's either one or two bedroom scenes. We'll leave it at that. But the thing is, although later on the series was written by a couple of ghostwriters, the main author for this, I think it's Lou Cameron, as I recall, not Ramsey Thorne, that's like a pen name. That particular author, the original creator of this series, he really knew his stuff in regards to sort of the Western times. So when the locations that are used in the books are highly accurate, as is the machinery, the guns and things like that. What people were wearing was all really, really spot on. And for that reason alone, they are better than your average sort of Western of this sort. They are very much what you would call a men's adventure Western, but that's not to put them down. They're a rollicking good read. That's the way to put it. And they're sort of supposed to be read in order, but you don't absolutely have to. A bit like the age books, really. Once you've read the first two or three, the premise is set, and then you can just go ahead and dip into them as and when you find them. Much, much harder to find in the UK. In fact, I think only the first two were ever officially distributed in the UK. After that, it was just America. So finding them over here is really, really tough. I've been lucky in that I've found, through the Men's Adventure Facebook group, I've found a couple of collectors over there who've been buying these, and they had doubles, and I've been able to swoop in and pick them up. But I have particularly tried to find these in really nice condition, and as you can see, these are in pretty high grade shape. I've got a cover sticker on. Do I? Dare I? Let's see how easily it comes off. Oh, it's coming. Now my little tip, if you have got a sticker or two, grow yourself a decent thumbnail first of all, and have it on hand, and then do like I do. I just slide the nail along the cover like so, and each time I do it, it takes a little bit off, but I'm not doing it in one fell swoop. So as the last thing I want to do is tear the cover. Now there are various products on the market. This one I think is going to be okay, but it's just going to take quite a bit of time. There we are. But there's a few. I could have softened it with my Mr. Sheen. There we are. So that's okay. It hasn't really even left a sticky residue, but it's got it off, so it looks much better like that. So I'll give that a polish in a little while. It's got a couple of little marks on the back there. There's another one called Glue Be Gone, which you can buy online. And some people use lighter fluid as well as another one to get stickers and things like that and stains off. I just use whatever I feel is right at the time, you know. Now, this particular series had 36 books in the range before it petered out, and I'm missing maybe 4 or 5, so I will get round to getting those eventually. and I'd definitely like a better copy of number 1. But because, as I said, the only real way for me to get hold of these is to buy them online and get them shipped over from the States. That can prove a little bit expensive, but thankfully one of my patrons, Chris Edwards, I've been able to get a few bits sent to his house, and he's waited until there's like a parcel load and then he sent them over to me, and that's been a really great way of getting some stuff from the States. So I'm not sure if Chris watches this channel, but he's certainly a big supporter on my other one, and a very knowledgeable chap on Star Trek books. In fact, he's got them all. Let's give that a little bit dusty there. I'm going to go through all of these, and then we'll give them the brush and then the polish through the whole lot. We haven't found anything interesting apart from a bookmark, have we? Not like some of my older, really ancient books, 30s and 40s ones, where we find the occasional letter and interesting bus tickets and things like that. Ah, now look, number 715 there, we missed that in quality control. This one's got a little sticker on the spine. So I wonder how easy this is going to be to come off. Oh, not too bad actually. Over here in the UK, we have a charity shop, a bit like what you would call a thrift store. There we go, that's going to need some polish on it. A bit like a thrift store in America. And it's called Oxfam. And Oxfam are one of those ones which they tend to put stickers on the spine of books as well. Here's another one, in fact. And I guess it must be so the shop knows how long they've had the book in. So say, for example, everything with a red sticker on, we put on the shelf in, say, January. And anything with a red sticker come March is going to come off, and it's just going to be, sort of given away or just pulped or whatever, That's probably the reason they do it. They just give each book a bit of a shelf life. This one's really stubborn. Very, very stubborn indeed. Yet from the top it's virtually coming off very easily. So I think it's going to need a bit of a clean on the spine when we get to it. When we put some polish on. Yeah, it's come off, but it's left a bit of a mark. Yeah, it's going to need a bit of polish on, but better than that horrible red sticker. 21 here. As you can see, most of these are really, really nice condition, and certainly better than your average. I've got a bit shorter now than the earlier books, so it'll be interesting when I work my way through these if the quality remains high or not, because as I said, come the end, they weren't by the original author, they were being written by house authors, and it was sometimes whoever was free at the time. Lots of these got little stickers and things on where they've been removed, which is going to come up really nicely when they're polished. So the channel's been doing very well lately. I'm very, very pleased with how it's progressing. The subscribers are coming in. YouTube's been recommending the content out a little bit more frequently now, so I've had a few videos do much better than normal because new people are finding the channel, which is fantastic. If you are new here, do please hit that subscribe button if you've not already. Thank you very much. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. That would be very, very nice. A little achievement. 35 here. Standoff in the Sky. And the very last one in this series is a totally different cover design, Guns for Garcia, and I reckon this last one's probably quite scarce, you know. But I don't know for sure. I've never really looked it up. It came as part of a little job lot, July 86. Yeah, it still says copyright Lou Cameron, but I'm certain, absolutely certain, that he didn't write all of these. I think they were written by, as I said, various sort of house artists at the time. So I think what we'll do, we'll just go and give them the brush first of all. So let's get them into little convenient piles of, well, whatever my hand can handle. So these earlier ones, that's only the first 4, and they're much, much thicker than normal. So we'll give these the brush down. Yeah, much bigger books than the later ones, which that made quite a difference, didn't it? Which I guess it just became a bit formulaic, you know, I'm guessing. Yeah, compared to what we've been cleaning recently, so little dust and dirt is coming off these. It's like, but I suppose these are a mere 40 years old compared to some of the other stuff we know, which is like 80 plus years old. So, still quite a bit when you see the debris afterwards that's coming off these, but lovely. Right. Okay, so that's all the books gone through and given a good wipe as well. Now the last step of the process then is to give these covers a bit of a clean up. So that's what we'll do next. Right, so I got the books rearranged a little bit now, so I'm going to give them a good polish. Now I use one called Mr. Sheen here. There's various versions. It's just a multi-surface like furniture polish. There's lots of different sorts of this polish around. Some people have suggested, if you're in America, Pledge, the brand Pledge, which is also, you can get that over here. But what I do, I've got a super soft cloth here, one that's been through the wash hundreds of times, and as you can see, there's the remnants from the last time I did a bit of clean. So I have chosen a clean corner here, and I just sort of impregnate it. I spray it directly on, I impregnate it, and then it's nice and sort of damp, as it were, but not wet, just to give these covers the once over. And the difference it makes is truly astonishing. I certainly try and do this with all my books which have got these. Obviously, if it's an earlier sort of book, it won't have a glossy cover like this does. But anything sort of from like the mid to late 50s onwards, you can sort of get away with this process on, if the cover is shiny and not matte. I did it on some Star Trek books recently. I was absolutely astonished at the difference it made on them. Now this particular one, this number 3, was hammered anyway, so I'm not going to go to town on it. In actual fact, you can sort of see that that's been damaged on the back. So that is very much going on my upgrade list if it's not already, to be honest. But one good squirt of my Mr. Sheen lasts over quite a few books. And it really, really does. If you follow this process, go through the books and give them a clean and get all the price stickers out and things like that, it's a very satisfying process to know that the books on your shelf are cleaned as best they can be. But also, I believe it's just going to, extend the life of these books a bit longer. These have never ever been cleaned in my collection, and chances are they've never ever been cleaned since the books were published. And since these early ones here are like from the early 70s, the very earliest, these are now almost 50 years old, aren't they? Which is incredible, really, when you think about it. In fact, that would be a very good idea to do a little 50th anniversary retrospective of the Edge books later in the year to celebrate their 50th anniversary. Now this particular one was very dirty, and that's made a huge difference. That's really, really come up quite nicely, and you can see the level of sort of dirt we've got off there. It's dried out a bit, so I'm going to give another little splash. Now coming up, I see there's a couple of books, number 43 and 44, which have suffered acute cigarette sort of nicotine staining. Now that can sometimes come up, other times it can be just impossible, and the books are left looking a bit horrible, but I think for the purposes of this video I'm going to give them a go. So once again, for the last sort of month or so, I've started filming in my new dedicated studio, and on the whole, I'm really getting to grips with it now. It isn't something that's, it's not, after filming inside the house for years, a few years, moving to a new location to film is quite tricky, but I'm sort of getting the swing of it now, and I hope ultimately the videos become sort of better quality as time goes on. I'd like to have 2 microphones recording all my videos now, and 2 cameras. And I use Wondershare Filmora, which is my film editor, and that one has got a way to sync like audio tracks and things like that. So leave that one with me, but I'm high hopes that it's going to make these videos even crisper audio wise, This is one that's benefiting greatly. And some are better than others, definitely. This one's a bit worse for wear, and I'll be able to do a lot with this. the ones which are really nice, they deserve that extra bit of time and attention. Get these stacked up neatly. They do look really nice, spine on these. Look great, don't they? Give the another couple of squirts. This is another fairly rough one. It had that like burn at the bottom there, which it's not dirt, it's an actual burn. Someone's dropped a cigarette on it or something over the years back in the day. Quite a bit off that one. This is another beaten up whole copy. Just get the main dirt off it, but not a lot I can do with that. That's come out really nice. If only they were all like that. I'm getting through these fairly swiftly. The polishing bit is always the most long-winded part, but also it's the bit that can sometimes make the most difference. So I don't want to skimp over it. Nice, that one. They are quite a mixture of conditions, these. Right, that's the first pile of these done. There we are. Right, wedge number 2. Getting a bit dirty, as expected. But we don't mind. A bit of sticker residue by the price there. Suspect that I had an overprice on it at some point, but it's come off quite nicely. The changing cover artist now. This one's quite beaten up, so I won't be able to do a lot with this one. Lots of invisible dirt on that one, but it's made a big difference. Right. Now, the next couple I know I've got really bad nicotine staining, so it's going to be a bit of an experiment. Look at that. And this one has also got, compared to the next one, which is normal. So it's really, really badly stained. So it'll be interesting to see if the polish lifts any of it up. Sometimes it does. Other times it leaves it really patchy, and that can sometimes look worse. But I don't think it's going to make a massive difference to these overall, whether it cleans them up really nicely or not. But let's give it a go. Yeah, and the reason it's come up, I've certainly picked up some of it, but it's not made a massive difference because the book has already got quite a creased spine. It's been read a fair few times, this one, so it's not made a massive dent in it. But that's okay. But that is definitely a consideration, you know, if you come across books which have got a really yellowed spine. It usually means that the previous owner was quite a heavy smoker. If it's really, really old books, it's either they were a smoker or they were in a room which had an open coal fire. That can be the other reason for really yellowed spines. But mainly it's just cigarettes, sadly. they stain the spines of the books when they're on the shelf. Nicotine sort of clings to it. So it's not particularly nice. And it can be quite tricky to get rid of, but not impossible. It depends on the book, really. Now this one's quite interesting because this is Nicotine Alley, but it looks like half of it's cleaned off and the other half isn't. So we'll see. Put a fresh bit if we can get the rest of this off. No, it's not even moving it. Oh, maybe it is slightly. I need a bit more elbow grease by the look of it. Oh, it's coming off, but it's coming off slowly, so... Oh, well, actually, this is proving it is coming off, as you can see. Jeez, look at that. Look at that yellow. That's just cigarette. I guess because this was a Western, it must have been little cigars. So it is coming off, but it's not coming off smoothly as I would like, but it is coming off. Oh, well, that has actually made quite a bit of a difference, that. Let's just do the rest of it. Yeah, not too bad. All things considered, it's not too bad at all. Right. Okay. Number 44 is the same. Look, it must have been the same collection, so I'm going to put some fresh Mr. Sheen on. And let's get that working. See, if this was sun faded, there was nothing that we could do. But because it's not, it is actual nicotine staining. It should slowly but surely lift off. Louise. Jeez Louise. Mad. Well, I always remember an anti-smoking advert. I don't care if people smoke, well, not lots of my mates smoke, but I always remember an advert where there was a chap and he was trying to brush off the nicotine stains on his hands, you know, where he'd been holding a cigarette in between his, two fingers, and he was rubbing off the horrible nicotine staining. And the poster said, "You can't scrub your lungs clean," meaning you can clean your hands and that and make it look as if you've never smoked, but you can't do that to your lungs. And the same sort of applies to this book, really, in that you can clean the book spine, but if you're a smoker, the damage is inside, isn't it? And you can't see it. You can't clean it like we're cleaning this edge here. A very powerful advert, that. There we are. I think that's about as good as we're going to get. But what a difference that's actually made on that. I'm just really, really pleased with that. But what a mess that's made. Look at it. I think that's done. We're going to need to go to, well, we'll go to this side now, where we've still got some polish that's seeped through, but it's a fresh bit of the cloth. This one's definitely going to have to go in the wash after this, after today's cleaning episode. These are considerably cleaner. And these are always going to be the toughest part of the cleaning bit today with these edge books. They're the oldest books, and they are the most beaten up copies. Some of these are just, cheap and cheerful pickups off eBay and places like that. Some of them, as I said, in job lots where people have put runs together. So they were always going to be in a bit of a mishmash of conditions, but that's okay. That's why we're doing it. That had a very clear stamp on the back, or sticker mark on the back, which I've cleared off there. Now look, I've just noticed we've missed a sticker there. Norco 50p or 50. Shall we give it a go? Since we're here, eh? Oh, let's leave them. Because it's already got, what's happened is, because it's got a bit wet with the polish, this actually needs to be soaked in. So I'm just going to put a load of polish on it and leave that to soak in. And then when that dries off, that'll actually come off quite easily. But at the moment, I'm just going to dab it in with a load and let that soak in. Because else, it's going to be it won't rip, it's just going to take ages to get off. And I don't wish to bore you. So, I mentioned earlier on that YouTube had really promoted one of my recent videos, and as we stand right now, or sit right now, that particular video's had 11,000 views, which is quite a lot for this channel. It's the most successful one on this channel, and what makes me laugh is in the comments someone had put, "Are you Dr. Gill? You sound like Dr. Gill." And I thought, who the hell's Dr. Gill? So anyway, I went onto YouTube, looked up Dr. Gill, who is in actual fact a doctor, and he does like these little sort of medical examinations, and he does actually sound like me. And I actually said, look to some guys at work, I said, so people say I sound like this guy, and they went, oh my god, you so do. And it was quite funny, but he is an actual doctor. He's got a very successful channel, and he does actual practical instruction stuff for I guess trainee doctors and stuff like that. So hats off to Dr. Gill. But no, I'm not Dr. Gill. Even if you think I am, honestly, I'm not. Oh, no, there's another one there. Look, it's got a really nicotine spine. So let's do the front and back covers and then see if we can lighten that up a little bit. Hopefully we can. Right. Okay. Yes, it's really lightened it up, but it has highlighted. It's quite a worn old spine, that one, but it's better than the horrible yellow that was there prior to it, and that's, I think, what matters in this particular case. Lovely. Let's get the next lot ready. Right. Almost at the end of these edge books now, and these tail end ones shouldn't need too much work because they were in those protected plastic coated jackets which have already been sort of cleaned, and they can't be cleaned anymore. Whereas some of these other ones, boy oh boy, they were in a sorry old state, weren't they? This one's got a coffee ring on the back where someone's rested a mug on it, and that is very naughty of them. And those sorts of things usually come off easily with polish, but that's proved really stubborn. Which is a little... it's not too bad, very, very faint, but, you know, even so. Who would dare to rest a coffee on an old book like this? How very dare they, as they say. These tail end ones are much better condition than some of the earlier ones. They're not as old. And I, as I said, tried to buy nice copies when I found them. These are protected, so not a lot I can do about them. They're already as clean as I'm going to be able to get them, I think. Because any dirt and dust was already on there before the books were laminated. The edge is done. Now I've got those couple of early Louis L'Amours, and beyond what we did on the top, I don't think there's a lot I can do on this one. It's quite delicate. It's an early 60s one. Once again, it suffered a bit of cigarette staining on the spine, which has lightened that up a little bit. Look at that. Look at that. That is nuts, isn't it? Let's see if I can get a bit more of that off. Dear, oh dear. Blimey neck. I can't believe so much is coming off. I suppose because it was a yellow spine underneath to begin with, it wasn't actually that visible that there was much staining on there, but evidently there was. Much more than I thought. I mean, this is quite a hammered copy. It's hardly like, near fine as a real collectible or anything, but even so. Look at that. I don't believe that. That's just that muck has just come off that one spine there. And to be honest, I think there's still stuff left behind. I'm just astounded. It'll be interesting to watch the video to see like a before and after on that spine, because I can't believe how much has come off. It's like every swipe is like taking more and more of it off. But I think we'll leave it at that for now. Look, that's another load. Phenomenal. It just shows, doesn't it? Wowee. Look at my neck. I don't know if it looks worse now. Yeah. Oh, that's awful. Let's just go to a different corner. I think we're done with that corner now. Yes, definitely gonna have to put this one in the wash. Contaminated. Alright, spine that one up there. Okay, so what we're left with now is the Renegade books, so let's get them out. Fresh corner again, I think, for these. But I'm hoping they're not going to be too bad. I don't think they will be, to be honest. There was just a couple of these where there was the odd sticker removal mark, which we will require a little bit more elbow grease. But apart from that, these should be alright, to be honest. them in there like so. And look, hardly any dirt is coming off these books because they were in a nice condition to begin with. Unlike the Edge books, which really have benefited from going through the process today. They really, really have. And that's why I'm doing it. These are mainly absolutely fine, but quite easily there is a little bit of invisible dirt and grime on the covers, which I'm sure we're taking out, but not a lot really. These were already very, very nice copies indeed, and they've not needed an awful lot of cleaning at all. The odd mark here or there, really, isn't it? But that's okay, at least I now know that they've been done. And that's why we're doing it. Last little stack now. I gotta say, I really love doing these once a week, going through the collection. giving certain aspects a bit of a tidy up. It really is very therapeutic and also practical, because slowly but surely my collection of old vintage paperbacks is looking nice and clean, and I've been able to, when I edit these videos, I go through and make a note of stuff which is like in lower grade, stuff that I'd like to replace. So from that point of view, it's really, really handy doing these videos. And if you enjoy the process of seeing me go through my book collection, I have got about, I don't know, 12 to 15,000 paperbacks, something like that, in the collection. I really don't know for sure. I've never really had the nerve to count them all up, but there's always something new coming down the pipe, as it were. And not everything is books. Some of my archive ones will be some other bits and bobs. So if I haven't got time that particular week to film a brand new book video, cleaning video, I will put something from my other channel up instead. This week, in fact, I am putting up a non-book related cleaning video where I clean an old Sony tape deck. But I've got some videos where I've cleaned old Star Wars toys, so that might be something you might fancy watching, you know, so look out for those. I'll put a couple up and see how they go. As I said, I'll only put an archive one up if I run out of time to do a dedicated book cleaning video amongst, you know, my other channel. But I'll try as best I can to do one of these, a brand new video, once a week if I can. Give it a little squirt for these last few. So if you have enjoyed today's video, which I hope you have, going through these westerns, not something I've ever done before on my channel, then do please give the video a thumbs up. It does make a difference. YouTube pick up that people like it and are engaging on it. Leave a comment below if you've enjoyed it. It does. I read them all. I try and reply to every comment as well. I think if you've taken the time to leave a comment, then the least I can do is at least acknowledge that I've read it and you know, reply to it. So I try and reply to every comment on my channel, and it does keep me encouraged and spurred on to do more of these. As I said, if you've not already, do hit the subscribe button so I can get up to 1,000 subscribers. That would be really, really nice. It gives YouTube a bit of acknowledgement, really, to say that I'm a sort of a legitimate channel and I'm posting regular content and people like what they see, or in some cases here. If you'd like to support my efforts, I do have links to Patreon, where you can join for as little as £1 or $1. And also on my other channel, there's a link down there. You can join that one as a channel member, once again from as little as $1. And you'll get an on-screen supporters credit in every single one of my videos going forward. And of course you get to see videos early. If you are joining from this side, do let me know, because I'm always 1 or 2 weeks ahead on my cleaning videos, so I'll be able to share those early as well if you like. So there we go, the very last book here. Thank you very, very much for watching today. Hope we've enjoyed going through these as much as I have. They are really, really interesting books, and they certainly look better now that they've had the treatment. Thank you very much for watching today, and I'll see you again in a week's time. Bye.